Hello folks, welcome to Board Game Corner. I'm Mark.
And I'm Randy.
This week we're taking a look at Volt, Robot Battle Arena. We're using robots to attack each other, to push each other into pits, off the board, using gadgets and mines to destroy each other's robots.
Volt is produced by Nazca Games. It plays 2 to 4 players, ages 13 years and up, and it takes about 30 minutes to play a game.
Exactly. So, let's hit the arena.
At the beginning of each game, players choose one of the 4 board sides to be the playing field. Each player is given a robot control mat, which will allow them to either move the robot or activate its laser. Each player is given a red die, 1 white die, and 1 blue die, as well as a robot token which will be placed initially at the edge of the playing board. Lastly, before the game starts, players will roll this 6-sided die to determine which of the control points will reward the first person to arrive with a victory point.
Each turn or round is divided into 4 phases. So, in this first phase, you're going to take your robot control board and place it behind your screen. Behind the screen, then, you will use your dice to pick actions for movement or firing. And you get to choose the number and the color of dice that go on each action. The color denotes which action will happen first. Red, white, then blue. Mm-hmm. So in doing so, the dice is never, ever rolled unless you want some crazy variant that you want to try and do. But you get to pick the values you want to do for each. And the reason you might pick a lower number versus a higher number is based on the lowest number will get to go first in your actions.
Once all players have positioned their dice on the robot control mat, players put aside their shields and reveal their selections. This begins phase 2, in which the actions are resolved, beginning with all the red dice, then all the white dice, then all the blue dice. The order in which the dice are resolved within a particular color is dependent upon their number, and the order starts with the lowest number proceeding up to the highest number. So let's say Mark and I, Mark chose a 1 for firing his laser, and I chose a 4 for moving my robot, and those are the red dice. In that case, Mark would get to go first because he had a 1 and I had a 4. Let's say we both had a 1, him for firing his laser and me for moving my robot. In that case, the person who has the action or movement dice gets to go first, and then the person with the laser goes second. If we both had a number or die with the same number on it on the same side of the board, so let's say we both were trying to fire our lasers with a red die with a number 1 on it, in that case these phase chits are turned upside down, shuffled, and each player gets to choose one, and the person with the lowest numbered chit gets to go first. Now the number on the dice are not only influential for the priority, but also in the action or the effect that they have. As you might guess, for the numbers on the movement side determines how far your robot moves. If I chose a 2 going north, then in that case that player would move forward by 2, or I would move my robot forward by 2. However, on the laser side, the number influences how you spin the other robot. If it's a 1, you don't spin them at all. They just simply take one of these damage chits. If it's a 2 or 3, you rotate their turret by 45 degrees. If it's a 4 or 5, then you rotate not only their turret, but their whole body, so their movement influence. And you rotate them not by rotating the robots themselves, but you rotate the dice, or you move the dice clockwise or counterclockwise, depending upon what number you've hit them with. And if you hit them with a 6 for your laser die, then you actually push them back 1 square. Now, in the process of this, you can guess that some interactions happen which aren't necessarily
which are awesome,
which are not anticipated. So if in the process of moving, you encounter another robot, let's say I chose a 6 to move my robot, and 3 spaces in, I hit another robot. Well, that robot gets pushed forward. So there's a chance of me pushing him into a pit or off the board entirely.
Which is a blast.
It's one of the most fun parts of the game. If you're shooting someone with a laser, there's a chance that you will damage them up to the 3-point maximum, at which point they die. So whether they fall into a pit, fall off the edge of the board, or get hit by a third laser shot, in any of those cases, you kill their robot and you get a victory point for that. If the person in the process of the game, where they just didn't calculate it right, or whether they got spun and are going in directions they didn't intend, whether they fall off the edge of the board or fall into a pit, they still die, but you don't get a victory point for that. So that's the end of phase 2.
Phase 3 is for scoring on the active control point. We check the blue die to see what that is, and if someone's on there, then they gain a victory point. If they do gain a victory point, then we re-roll the blue die to see what the next control point will be.
Now, it's very key to understand that it's not sufficient just to land on that control point briefly during the game.
You have to end your turn there.
You have to end the whole round, and only then is the person who remains on that control point eligible for a victory point.
Exactly.
The first person to achieve 5 victory points wins the game. If phase 3 completes and no one has yet won the game, then we respawn any robots that have died, and that happens very, very rarely in the game.
All the time.
All the time. So we respawn, and they can put the robot anywhere on their side of the board on the edge.
Yes.
But they are free to position it wherever they'd like.
Okay, so that was a look at kind of the basic game. Now, there's some components in the game for a harder or more advanced version of the game, where basically what you do is that there's a random set of tokens that you can draw from and actually you can do 2 or more to make the game harder and harder and harder. But you place them next to the board, and those will be particular items or gadgets that all the robots, everyone playing, will have those, like mines, they could be grenades, lots of different options.
Yeah,
right?
and that's one of the great things about the game, and to increase replayability is the fact that there's a stack of, I don't know how many there are. There's probably about 15 to 20 these additional powers. And these powers apply not only to you, these aren't unique powers for each person, they are unique for the whole group.
Game, yeah.
So that's different than some of the other games we've played that they're shared. But to support those, for example, for mines, they have these little tokens so that each player, when they move, they leave behind a little mine of their color.
Particularly nasty.
Yes. And like Mark said, there are grenades and there are tractor beams and things like
double
that.
shots.
Which radically change how the game is played and
huge.
Makes it very entertaining.
Yep. All right, so right off the top, I have to just say I really enjoyed this game. We played with several different groups, and it's just been a blast. And even my daughter just dominated everybody. And there's some great strategy that can happen, right? But then there's a lot of really cool random bits that once you get hit, suddenly now your robot is going in the opposite direction. So all kinds of, you fall off the board, you fall into the holes. It's just really fun. And the fact that you respawn so quickly is great.
Yeah.
So there's so many segments of this game that you just serve to suck me in, and it really feels like we're sitting in a battle arena. We've got our little controllers, and we're moving the robots, and it has a really good feel or theme to it that really sucks you into that battle arena. Really, really enjoy that. And I really don't have anything I don't like about this game. It's crazy. Usually there's something, but I really have enjoyed every aspect of this. And I was just surprised, I'm kind of blown away that it was just as good as it is for being, it's kind of a smaller game, and I didn't really know what to think, but man, it really sucked me in. It was really just a blast. And like I said, we played with 2 different groups. Everybody seemed to love it. And it's just how you can just get mean in the game is just really fun.
It is a conflict-prone game. If you play with a group or your family that doesn't like being destroyed on a regular basis, and it can feel, even if you're not ganging up on a person, everybody's out for blood or oil, I guess, in this case.
Exactly.
So it can feel like, if you're being destroyed a lot, that everybody's ganging up, even if you just happen to be the opportune person.
And that's probably if there was something negative to say, that if you have people in your group that don't like to be beat up on, that they're not going to respond well to this, because it easily can happen. And not just because you're after gunning for somebody, but due to the placement and where your robots are, like, well, I'll go after him again or her. And I did that with my wife, and she about killed me.
But the good news is she is still speaking to him.
That's right. So that's definitely a downside. There really isn't. There might be a little bit of prone to people who aren't used to this kind of game, not really, I don't know which dice to play. Oh, should I move or should I attack? I don't know where anybody's going to be. And so there's some randomness. So obviously, if you're not a gamer who likes randomness, then that's probably not a game for you. But I don't know, everything coming together, it really worked well for me. I just had a blast.
Now, I'm a long-term fan of Robo Rally, and I've played that for years with a variety of friends. And for those who have played that game, the comparison with Volt is inevitable.
Oh, totally.
Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is that there are some things that Robo Rally does better, in my opinion, but there are other things that Volt does significantly better than Robo Rally does.
But I wouldn't want them to do the same thing.
No. They're not intended to be quite the same game, and I think that's the reason I had a potentially different experience than you. One of the things I think that Volt does much better than Robo Rally is it's much easier to learn and to play.
Yes, to suck in new players.
Yeah.
It's so easy to teach.
It is. Just you've got your 3 dice there, and you've got a certain number of directions you can go, and that's pretty much it. In Robo Rally, some people balk at playing the game if they're tired, if it's been a long day. It's like, I don't want to choose 5 out of 9 cards and figure out whether I'm pointing this way or that way, because in Robo Rally, all of your directional cards, whether you're turning or moving, depends upon which way your piece is moving.
Right.
Whereas in this game, you probably shouldn't have robots that have a face to them. They should look like R2-D2. I know you like them. The fact is that their front is irrelevant here, in this game.
It's all based on where your player mat is.
What your player mat is, right. So regardless of which way my guy is facing, if I have a dice that's saying go this way, then it will go that way, whether that's his front or his back.
Right.
So that's one of the better things about the game.
Robots can move in multiple directions.
Well, robots can. This is true. That's why they don't need a front.
That's true.
But in any case, so it is easier to learn. I think also the fact that the powers for the advanced game are shared.
Which is awesome.
Well, yeah, and that changes the game. In Robo Rally, each person has their own unique power if you play with the advanced powers, whereas this you don't. And therefore, you don't have to keep track of who has grenades and who has double lasers. We all have double lasers. We all have grenades. We're all dead.
Yep.
So, so those are the things that I have going for it.
And also the fact that makes the game infinitely replayable.
It does.
There's so many things you can do or possibilities.
I think the number of advanced powers in here is much higher than you have in Robo Rally.
Yeah.
Now, the things that I didn't like as much, I felt like the components are fairly plain, fairly average. They're not bad, but they're pretty much average on the board. And even though I would like Robo Rally to have a much simpler board, at the same token, I'd like Volt to have one that has at least some walls or something.
Would
be
I could
nice.
see to maneuver around, but that could be an expansion, right?
It could be.
There's all kinds of stuff you can add.
I don't want to wait for the expansion.
Well, yeah. So there's all kinds of stuff you could add to the board to do that. But I wouldn't want it to be too much like Robo Rally.
No. But I'm saying for even for Volt by itself, even if I played it, I would like to see one or two of these boards be a little bit more complex rather than just more random distributions of the same things.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because the ease of learning is key, I think, because not only I try to pull out Robo Rally and my wife just balks, and even though this game she got beat up on, she still would rather play this. The whole programming aspect, she just has trouble getting her head around. So this is a much more accessible game for her.
It is. Now, the other downside I had with this is in terms of the mechanics and the rules. Because this isn't a race, whereas in Robo Rally you're trying to go someplace, and even if you end up with a turn where you have
the flag versus death match,
right? And it's not really capture the flag; it's more of a relay sort of thing. But in that case, even if you haven't killed anybody, even if you haven't shot anybody, you feel like every move is a step closer to your goal.
True.
Whereas this game,
here you don't know.
Yeah, this is like the end of the good, the bad, and the ugly with a lot of dancing involved. Yep. So we're all like this. And guess what? None of my shots at anybody. None of my shots at anybody.
Right.
And I think there was a lot of that. A lot of turns where you feel like, and we all shot, nobody hit each other. And we all shot, nobody hit each other. So there is that trade-off, whereas I don't think, for me, it was quite as satisfying as Robo Rally. Still a great game.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. I really like the programming aspect of Robo Rally and the fact that there's big boards that you move across. But this little skirmishing game, it's just so much fun. And it's fun to be mean.
For those of you who like that, those of you who want a nice, self-contained, small strategy game, and here perhaps is the biggest difference. If you're wanting a 30-minute game instead of an hour and a half game, then Volt is probably the right one for you.
For sure. Okay, some final thoughts. So, obviously I like this game.
A little bit.
It was really we had a good time. I really liked that everyone we played with actually got into it, and there wasn't anyone who was kind of like ho-hum about it. So it really is accessible. It sucks people in. And the replayability is high. The fact that the advanced rules give you more and more gadgets to play with is just fantastic. So I'm giving this game a 3.5 out of 4 corners.
Now, like I said, had a little bit less enthusiastic experience with it, but still enjoyed it quite a bit.
It's okay to be wrong.
And that's why you shouldn't feel bad. I gave it a 3.0, quarters out of 4. And I think it's a good game for us to bring out when we have company visiting who don't mind a little bit of conflict, and who enjoy it.
I think that's the biggest downside for some people, the conflict.
It will be. It will be. This is definitely not a collaborative game, and it's not even a Euro game where you can go do your business and win without hitting other people. In fact, in my opinion, the only way to win this game is to not focus so much on control points, because you only get 1 point there.
Right.
Focus on killing all the other players.
And pushing people is really is more fun than the lasers as well. Except when you get the gadgets, those add a lot.
Yeah, the grenades,
pushing people into
the mines,
into pits and traps and off the board is just really fun.
Yes.
So, folks, thanks for joining us. That's our review this week. And until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.